Have you ever wondered what it would be like to raise your children while living in a different country? How does parenting change when you immerse your family in new cultures and experiences around the world? What if I told you that it's easier to relocate your family to an exotic location than you think? Welcome to Transform with Travel, a show helping busy professionals plan more bucket list trips that reignite adventure and go beneath the surface, without the overwhelm of planning, the endless midnight scroll, and the crowded tourist traps. Buckle up because we are about to take off. Hello, hola, bonjour to my friends around the world. If you are a parent on a mission to explore global living with your family, then this episode is for you. In today's episode, we'll chat with Elodie Ferchaud, the co-founder of Boundless Life, a unique approach to global living for families that's transforming the way we see parenting, education, and global living. After loving her first Boundless Life experience, she actually felt so compelled to contribute to its growth and impact, and this led her to take on a leadership role within the company and help shape the company's transformative mission. In this conversation, we dive into what it's like to live and parent across cultures, and we touch on the parenting differences between Japan, France, Sweden, and America. And Elodie explains from her experience what the benefits to traveling with kids are as a parent. So oftentimes we hear about the benefits for the children, but I think it's super important that we understand there are immense benefits for the parents as well. Elodie shares candidly and openly about her experiences with her 3 children living around the world. And there is just so much jam-packed value in this episode that I will not hold you back any further from listening. Later on in the show, I'm going to give a shout out to someone who left a review of the podcast recently, and I'm beyond grateful for each and every review you write. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to 1, listen to the pod, and 2, for writing a review. And if you haven't yet, I'd love if you could spread some Christmas cheer by writing a review for the podcast, subscribing to the podcast, or maybe even sharing this episode with a friend who you think could benefit. Stay tuned at the end of the episode for all of that. All right, let's go. Hello to everyone listening today, and a special hello, hola, bonjour, good day, mate, to our community and our subscribers. Welcome to the Transform with Travel podcast, and a special welcome to Elodie Ferchaud, co-founder of Boundless Life. So awesome to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me over. It's a pleasure.
I'm a mother of 2. I know you're a mother of 3, and we both love to travel. So Boundless Life, I know we're going to get into it in a little bit, but Boundless Life is a dream of mine to participate in. And I just can't wait to deep dive into your own personal story and how you got involved with the program. And I'm particularly interested in hearing around your experience with the just differences in parenting across different cultures and the benefits of travel for the parents, not just for the kids. So I know you have a lot of thoughts around that. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's an exciting topic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to delving into it.
Amazing. And so before we begin, we like to play our Transform with Travel game. We play 2 Truths and a Lie Travel Edition. So are you ready to play?
Yes,
Okay.
I guess.
Go ahead.
All right. So the first one, we're a family of 5, and we were born in 4 different countries.
Okay.
The second one, we all swam together with dolphin and whale sharks.
Ooh.
And the third one is that we traveled together to more than 30 countries.
Oh my gosh. I feel like all of those could be true.
Right?
Well, I kind of know a little bit about your story. So I feel like the 4 countries being born across 4 countries might be true. And then, I'm going to go with the lie is 30 countries that you guys have traveled together.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, wow.
That's right. We haven't done that many countries because we've been rather voting for slow travel. So we're definitely not one of those families who have explored already all the continents and all the countries. But damn it, I thought I would win the game.
That was a tough one because I feel like any of those could have felt true. So what are the 4 countries? I know your 2 oldest girls were born in Japan. So and you're from France. So what are the other 2 countries?
My partner is Swedish, and my youngest was born in the UK.
Okay. Wow. So all different citizenships and then dual citizenships amongst everyone? Like, how does that work? It's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, no, all the countries have different rules, right? So it's nationality by blood or nationality by the right of soil, basically. So in Japan, you need to have one parent who is Japanese. So unfortunately, the girls don't have the Japanese citizenship. And same thing with the UK. So no, everyone is actually French and Swedish. That's
Okay.
it.
It does make life a little easy on the paperwork end of things because I have dual citizen children, and man, there's always there's some deadline always that I'm forgetting a passport or a citizenship paperwork or something.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Our next goal is my husband can apply for US citizenship this year. So I will be the only one in the family that does not own two passports. I got to work on that. That'll be my next bucket list item is get another passport. All right. Well, welcome to the show. I'm so excited for this. So I want to talk a little bit, like back it up a step. I know you're the co-founder of Boundless Life, and we'll talk in a bit about what Boundless Life is. But before you joined the team, before you found out what Boundless Life was, or just this life of slow travel with your family, I'd love for you to speak a little bit about who was Elodie? Like, what was your day-to-day life?
Yeah, it feels like ages ago, first of all, when I'm thinking about that life. But we had more of a traditional expat life, I guess, back then, meaning that we met in Switzerland and then together we traveled to Sweden and then we decided to travel to Japan. And we were like staying 3 to 4 years in every country. We kind of managed to have our careers working side by side, which was like not the easiest. But I think once you're clear on what you want to achieve and where you want to go, then the universe makes it happen in some way. And I worked in FMCG for a long time in branding for P&G and L'Oreal. Made it to Japan, which was like a really big and hard move, and I really had to make it happen. And then we decided to have children, and it was a little bit like, oh my god, what how is this gonna play out? So we had our first daughter in Tokyo. It was really not the original plan. Like for us, we were in Sweden where you have like 480 days of mat leave. We were like,
Wow.
"No, we don't want to have children now." We were imagining Tokyo and rooftops and parties, and we're like, let's go to Tokyo. It's gonna be so much more fun. And we ended up like after a year deciding to start having a family because Tokyo was such a great, peaceful place to raise children and still manage to kind of keep up with work, like having children and then going back and having the second one and going back, which was interesting in Japan, especially because the culture there when you're a mom is usually you stay at home and take care of the children. I think I was lucky in the sense that I was a foreigner and a working mom and a manager, and I didn't fit in any of the boxes. So
Mm.
I could kind of define my own rules and define how I wanted to design that life back then. But it was still like a life where we every 3 4 years we would get to know people really well and then we would have to say goodbye and we would never come back. And that was a little bit hard, but that was the only way it was possible if you wanted to live an international lifestyle back in the days because the schools were working this way and you had to stay for a full school year, etc. So that was the life pre-Boundless when we didn't have any other options. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting. I didn't really think about the expat life because I entered into the digital nomad era of like 2014, 2015, where it started to become a little bit more mainstream and it started to become a little bit more, you could build a community somewhere and that remote work life was starting to pick up a little bit. But I didn't think about from like the school perspective because I didn't have children back then, like how rigid structure was for that. There was no like alternative back then because the pandemic really kind of opened up the future of blended school options. So that's really interesting. I know to go from living in Sweden, where you get over a year and a half of paid parental leave, to then raising a family in Japan, completely different cultures. I'd love to hear, like, what were some of those specific parenting differences that you've found from, growing up as a child in France? You experienced parenting from your family in France, and then your partner's experiencing his childhood from a Swedish perspective, and then you're raising a family in Japan. I'd love to hear how some of those cross-cultural differences with a parenting lens on it, how that played out for you.
Oh my God, what a journey. And I think I did really feel it like, or the hardest or the most intense was definitely with my first one because I didn't know who I was as a mother and I was discovering a whole new world. Like when you're a first mom, right? There is very little you can grasp. So you just relying onto what you've learned, your background, how you've been raised. And so for me, that was the French way. And there are a lot of books about how, French people raise their kids, and they're basically true, like as a French mom, you're basically welcoming the child in the family, but the child is following the family. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like a child-centered way of raising him or her. So we do like wait 5 seconds before going to the child when they're crying, for instance. We don't go immediately and worry about every single thing. The child sleeps in a different room, and I remember like my mother-in-law, who is Swedish, when she discovered that Lilu was sleeping in a different bedroom, that was very foreign to her, and she was like, but how, what's happening if she wakes up during the night? So we had all those conversations that were already like challenging for me to follow and kind of understand, okay, but what is what is the rule, like how, what is the best way to raise your child? And then added to that, there was the whole Japanese upbringing. So Lilu went very early on into hoikuen, so the public daycare in Japan. And so I was hanging out with Japanese moms who, on the other side of the spectrum, were suddenly, they were moms. That was their new identity. They would sleep with the child, and the dad would sleep in another room, and many of them didn't go back to work. And that was their whole purpose in life, to raise the children, which was again like another world for me. I could really value or appreciate that 100% commitment to your child and wanting to do the best. But I could feel after a few months like I wanted to go back to my own project and be a little bit selfish. But over there, that was very, very strange because you were a
Mm.
mom first and foremost. And then the fourth one was like hanging out with all those expats mom. And most of them were Americans in Tokyo. They were reading about the French books, but they were still doing it in a very different way. And again, listening a lot more to the child and the child's emotion. How is he, she doing? Like over listening. So I guess like my first experience of being a mom in Japan was kind of in the middle of all those influences and trying to make sense of it. And it was confusing. And sometimes I would change the way I was behaving with Lilu, which was also slightly confusing for the child. It became easier and easier with every pregnancy and every child because I got to learn what worked for me. I obviously had to adjust because all three daughters were different, like we all know it, but I got to know a little bit better about myself and what was important for me as a mom.
It's so funny you bring up the books. I remember with my second, when I was pregnant with my second, I read the book. What's the friend that's really
I think there's
popular?
one about
Bringing Up
why,
Bebe. I think that's what it's.
yeah, there's
Yeah,
bringing up
yeah.
baby, and there is why French kids never throw food
Yes,
or something
that's
like
it.
this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember just turning to my husband like, "Can you believe this? Like, it actually works? Are you kidding me?" And we did actually implement. I remember one of the things was snacking. We were trying to like curb all the snacking with my children. And so one of the things in the book talked about after school, it was like fruit and cheese, and then that's it. Nothing more until, or like the little like dessert thing, and then nothing more until dinner. And that's something that we still do to this day. My kids know like we're gonna have some grapes and we're gonna have a little bit of cheese, and then after that, there's nothing else until dinner, and they eat their dinner. So I think it's really interesting, like the nuances in parenting that you don't realize how much we internalize as kids that inform how we parent. So for you, it was
Mhm.
like with your Swedish mother-in-law, like I have that too with me and my Australian mother-in-law. There's not huge differences, but there's some things where I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I would never in a million years think to do that, but it works, you know? So it's like taking the best of all of the things that you are learning as you go.
True. And so that's something then that I realized actually on a cohort with Boundless, where we had a mom who was really into conscious parenting. And so
Mm-hmm.
she was sharing a lot of the ideology behind it. And it was the whole like unlearning also what you've been taught as a child and kind of figure out what feels right for you and your family. And that's been like for me a big revelation, or at least having those conversations, because like you say, there is a lot to internalize. You don't even realize that you're replicating patterns that have been like passed on from generation to generation. And when traveling and when exchanging with parents from different origins, you realize slowly those patterns and you can regain control, or at least ask yourself the questions. Does it feel right? And it's not easy to switch off all of them, obviously, because you've been raised with it, but at least starting gaining some awareness of what some of those drivers are gets you a long way, I feel, in terms of discovering what feels really right to build a relationship with that child and that other child, because again, every relationship
Yes.
is different.
So
Mm.
different. That's something, I mean, we were just talking backstage. You have 3 girls. You said 10, 8, and 5. Is that?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
And
Mhm.
so my girls are 4 and 2, so I'm just, a little bit step behind you there. And man, the first to the second kid is I couldn't everyone said they're gonna be different, but it's crazy how completely different needs, different demands on my attention. It's pretty wild to think how that can happen. So, from French parenting, Swedish parenting, Japanese parenting, and then observing American parenting, could you pick out like one thing that you really like about each of them that you think that you carry
Sure.
with you as a parent?
Yeah, definitely. I think what I like about the French parenting is the fact that there are some clear principles that we always stand by. And that helps in the relationship with the child because we both know the rules of the game. So I kind of like having those clear, we call it the frame, right? You can play within the frame, but there is that frame that you follow. So that's something that I really believe in. From the Japanese side, I really enjoyed, which maybe is not like a rule of parenting, but I think in general in Japan, the usage of sugar is extremely, extremely low. So kids have hardly any sugar. They will have a lot of rice and fruits and but not like processed sugar. And so in general their energy level is more even,
Stable. Yeah.
is more stable,
Yeah.
and that changes completely the dynamic within the household. So that's something that I've really, really appreciated. I think from the American, I do believe in the listening to the child and trying to understand where they come from versus I'm the adult and I'm going to tell you what to do. I think it's sometimes done to such an extreme, but that's something that I'm trying to bring on as much as possible. And from the Swedish side, I think, especially raising daughters, there is this strong awareness and willingness to raise them exactly the same way, if not more independent than boys. So there
Oh.
is a fairness, and equality is extremely important, and especially in terms of gender. And so that's something like raising 3 daughters. Like I love working, but also I think it's important for me to role model towards my daughters that I can be independent, and I want them also to behave this way. So yeah, those will be some of the highlights from the different cultures.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really love that, and I love that the acknowledgement of the American, because obviously I'm raising kids in America. I actually do struggle with that as well, the line of going too far into there's gentle parenting and then there's permissive parenting, and it's like, where's that boundary? Like, it's so hard to know, and I remember reading in the book about the French parenting way around the frame. I remember she talked about the frame, like, this is the rule and you can play within this boundary of this rule, but we don't step outside of that. And I think that gives a lot of wiggle room. I liked the balance of that, so thank you for outlining all of that. I know that's a lot to think about, and it's just very cool to have so many different experiences as a parent. And so you were living in Japan with your 2 daughters that were born, and then you got pregnant again. Can you explain a little bit of the timeline, like where were you guys when this happened, and how did you find Boundless Life along the way?
Yeah, so when my third one was born, we decided to get a little bit closer to the family. So we decided to go back to Europe, and then we moved to London. So Noah was born in the UK, and we got locked there because it was COVID. We got stuck in London, and after about 2-3 years, we really felt the need to again travel. We didn't want to do again the expat traveling. We had been thinking about this option of traveling more frequently, but then coming back to places. So what we were missing is like those connections, those friends, and we would make super strong friends and then we would lose them. So we wanted to almost have kind of a seasonal year where we would live 3 months in country X and then continue Y, Z, and go back to country X. But it was never possible because of the education program, and we didn't know how to do it. Now, I didn't want to homeschool. I had done that during COVID on top of working. It didn't work. I'm not a good educator, and both my parents are teachers, so I do value amazing educators and their capability to bring out the best from the children. I don't have that in me. I know it, and that's fine. So we were looking for a solution, and then we ended up chatting with an old friend from Tokyo who mentioned like there is this crazy project starting in Portugal, and you can move around every 3 months, and the program will be the same, and it's called Boundless Life. And so we had the call on February 13, and we were like, oh my God, we hope we can go in. And we started April 1st
Well,
in Portugal. That was the second cohort. It was very, very new, and we just had a blast. Like, we discovered a whole new world. So that was our discovery with Boundless 2022, so 2 years and a half ago.
Wow. Okay. So you did Portugal, which the cohort there is in Sintra, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So Sintra is like 30 minutes from Lisbon. It's a beautiful place, very mysterious, magical, in the middle of forests and palaces. That's where the kings and queens used to live, because the weather is very temperate. So it's never too
Mm.
hot and never too cold, very green, very lush. We had never been there. We just went there because Boundless was there. And we spent 3 months together with another 15 families. I discovered the true meaning of it takes a village. I never really understood what that mean, and then we never left.
So, for those listening who think, okay, 3 months in Portugal, that sounds fun. What else? Can you explain what is Boundless Life?
So, Boundless Life is this kind of ecosystem that helps families to live and learn around the world. So, we currently have 6 different locations in 6 different places. So, Portugal, Greece, Italy, Bali, Montenegro, and Spain, which is our latest location. And in each location, we're basically making it as simple as possible for families to live. So, we coordinate an education program for the children. We currently welcome children between 1 and 14 years old. We also coordinate homes, co working space, experiences for the families to discover the culture. And one element that we don't know we need until we get it is the community. So you have about 20 to 25 families coming together, starting at the same time, ending at the same time.
So yeah, I think that program, I remember when I think my cousin first sent it to me. She was on the podcast as well. She runs international walking tours. And I remember her sending it to me like, this is so up your alley. And I remember being like, oh my God, first of all, I have a bucket list of guests for the podcast where I'm like, Boundless Life, like top of the bucket list. I need to speak to them, but also bucket list experience for myself, because I think especially if you are a person who has traveled quite a bit before, this notion of slow travel is very appealing to me, as well as it's really overwhelming as a parent to try to figure out, am I going to homeschool? Am I going to do virtual school? And like the US has a lot of virtual programs, but then you're on virtual, like you're on the US time zone. How do I find flexible schooling in that country? That is a really big fear, or like almost concern that parents have. How do I continue to educate my children while on the road and it not be 100% on me to be the entertainer, the educator, the planner, all of
Yeah.
that? So that's
Mhm.
incredible that you guys were able to find that program through your friend in Tokyo. You also have done cohorts in Syros in Greece and also in Bali. Could you talk about what did those experiences bring to you, not just as a parent, but also as a woman, as a traveler?
That's a great question. Every travel you make, you realize new little pieces of yourself that you had never discovered. You set yourself, or you put yourself into new situations, you meet new people, you get exposed to new experiences, and suddenly they reveal or they make sense of things you felt but you couldn't really explain. And that's really what happened for me when I lived in Greece and in Bali. So we lived in Bali for 4 months, and in Greece for I think 10 months. So we've done like
Wow.
4 cohorts, not together but like separate ones. I think what I realized about myself is that I usually on an island, first of all, they're generally quite peaceful. The pace of life is slower. The importance of traditions is really, really high. People are very proud of their place, but also very welcoming. So usually they've had a lot of migration. They've had a lot of people coming in and out. So they're very used to foreigners and new influences. And that's what I like about islands. It's places who have a lot of soul, a lot of traditions, a lot of history, and I feel a sense of peace, inner peace. I think the blue is also the other thing. I've discovered that blue was my color, and just seeing it every day, not even going into the water, but just like the blue sky and the blue water is very soothing and very relaxing. So those are really like my happy places. And that's where we usually try to go back as much as possible. Generally, I think, yeah, through travel, you just discover or uncover who you really are. And that takes time, and that takes like patience with yourself, but that's a beautiful journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that experience, and also being able your kids to be able to experience that unraveling as well, getting to see different layers of you as their mother, which I think is really powerful.
This is so true. So I had such a beautiful conversation with one mom that was in Italy, actually, so in another location. But she told me, like, I think, Elodie, for the first time, my kids actually got to meet their mother.
Oh my God, I want to cry.
Um,
Oh my God.
but this is a conversation so suddenly, because of the community, I think that we're creating, it leaves a lot more space for parents to actually get together, mothers to get together, couples to get together. And because just like everyone takes care of each other. So suddenly it leaves that time. And when you have more space for yourself, suddenly you can again rediscover who you are and share it with your children. You also become a little bit more like a child again. You're breaking the mold, you're breaking the patterns, you're not on the wheel anymore, and suddenly you want to experiment as well. Like, you rediscover that kind of energy and that spark for adventure, and that's fun, like, for your children to see also that, like, craving for living. You feel so much more alive through traveling, and the children feel it. So the connections that you're building together with your children are much deeper. And that's something that we hear consistently from all the families doing the program, that living in the moment and removing a lot of the routine just helps you to connect on a deeper level. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the program. If, let's say, someone said, I want to spend a whole boundless year, I want to do 4 cohorts in a row,
Mhm.
and I'm going to do 3 months here, 3 months in Bali, 3 months in Greece, 3 months in Portugal, 3 months in Italy. Is it possible to do something like that where the kids can follow the program as they move cohort to cohort? Or is it recommended to give a little space? Like, is that possible for someone to even do that?
We have a lot of families who are doing gap years,
Yeah.
and indeed they will do back to back cohorts. The beauty of the program is that you can design it the way you want. So there is no obligation or direction that Boundless gives you in terms of location. The only thing that you need to be aware of is obviously visas, if there
Yeah.
are any visa restrictions that you have. But for the children, it will be extremely seamless because the education centers look all the same from the inside. They're furnished the same way. They have the same structure.
Oh,
The
wow.
curriculum is the same. The educators are trained in the exact same way. So obviously, like, there will be moments, culture time, that will be very, very different. So if you're in Bali, they will be learning about the Balinese traditions and culture, and in Greece, we'll be covering the Olympics and the mythology. But like, in terms of program of the day and routines, and again the look and feel, it will feel very familiar. And most likely, the beauty of it is they will also meet friends.
Yeah.
So whenever we travel, the girls know like 5 6 kids in every location. We don't coordinate, but it always happens that, oh, we're gonna meet XYZ, and there is a lot of excitement to reconnect on another location. So the familiarity of the faces just helps a lot. We also have some educators who are traveling educators, so they also end up being like just meeting them again. So that helps really the transition for the children.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't think about how powerful that would be to have a similarly styled learning environment in each location for the child. It's like there's less of that uncertainty of where am I? They don't have to do that scanning the environment, figuring out where they need to be. They say, "Oh, I know this table. Oh, I know." Like, that's really powerful that you guys thought to do that. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
this is fundamental. That was part of the design from the very, very early days. For the children, just entering a safe and cozy environment that they know is already a major step. We also make sure that before the children are coming in, we have an admission team. So they have what we call a 360. So we build their profile before arriving. We get to know them, what they like, what they don't like as a learner. And this is the information that flows to the local team before they get started. And then again, their profile, we move from one location to another. So already the educators will know a few little things about the children. So again, we're trying to reduce any adaptation time and any friction points during the transition from one location to
Yeah,
another.
so smart. I love that. And so let's talk a little bit about this environment that they are learning in and also about this concept of multi age learning, right? So my daughter goes to a Reggio school here. It's an international school in South Florida, and they're multi age where it's not really based on, okay, you turned 3 at this date, now you move up, kind of like the class age batch learning that we have in the United States and a lot of other schooling around the world. They really base it on your development. And then when you get to elementary school, their school is first and second grades a little bit of a blend, third, fourth, fifth grade is a little bit of a blend. And it is wild trying to explain it to people that aren't used to kind of a multi-age learning environment.
Mm.
So from your perspective, how do you think a multi-age learning environment, like let's say a 9-year-old also learning alongside an 11-year-old or vice versa, like how do you think that fosters growth and resilience within our kids in comparison to the more traditional class age by school calendar learning?
I think there are two main benefits of multi age learning. The first one is that whether you're the youngest and then it kind of you're looking up to the oldest in the classroom, or whether you're the oldest and then you're kind of teaching back, which is a great way to basically internalize knowledge. Like when you pass it on, you know that the kid has really acquired those skills. In terms of skill building, that's the number one benefit. The other core benefit of multi age learning is also that you don't limit the children in terms of learning potential. I mean, all the children will have different skill sets depending on the different areas, right? So we work bi-weekly modules, so they change every 2 weeks their focus area, and we kind of assess where they're at on the different topics. In a traditional system, everyone learns the same thing at the same time because we're all programmed in the same way. The
Exactly.
reality is some children are just like much more comfortable with some topics, are so hungry for so more. And that's what multi-age learning give them the option to. It's kind of going as far as they want. And on some other topics, the same children will need more time to really make sure they understand the basics. And that's something that is accepted in that approach. So there is no feeling of feeling also like guilty or you're behind or anything. It's just like an individual tailored approach where just you're progressing at different paces depending on the different areas, and it's all about the growth mindset. Like that's what we focus on in our education centers, is really teaching the children also to approach the learning process with that growth mindset. So understanding when they feel frustrated about things, how to manage the emotions, how to work together collaboratively to work through it. Like this is a very important area as well. So we're more talking about holistic child development rather just than the very academic part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful that they're learning that in real time while they're in different cultures and out of their comfort zones as well, and watching their parents being out of their comfort zones and learning all of this growth mindset. I talk a lot on the podcast about what is a traveler mindset and how can we apply all of the benefits of how we grow our minds and our mindsets through travel and applying that back at home. So I really love that that's something that is ingrained, that a growth mindset is even a term that you're using in a schooling environment is incredible.
I love that you're talking also about the growth mindset for the parents. I think it's very powerful for the children to see and hear it also from their parents. Just knowing that you're always growing, you're always learning, and that through travel, you will put yourself through challenging situations and you will learn. Even mommy will like discover new areas where, she's struggling. And it's okay to talk about it with the children. I think when you're traveling, you're a lot more open and transparent as a family. You're having those discussions, there is less taboo because everyone is going through those transformations. And that's fine. There is a lot of sharing and open communication around that. And I think that's quite beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that. Something that we don't often talk about is the benefit to you as a mother, as a father, as a parent, as a caregiver, whatever role that is. From your perspective, or maybe what you've seen personally for yourself, how has travel shaped you as a parent? Like, what is the benefit of travel for the parent?
That's a great question. I think the biggest one has been really to stop, to pause, and to reflect more regularly on my relationship with my daughters and how we raise also the kids with my husband. I do remember when we were, when we were living in big city and we had this very established life, like the routine settles. And so you don't as often take the time to reflect on it. You trust a lot more the system around you and what you've set up. So when you're traveling, you're going out of your comfort zone and you're really very regularly taking a pulse, kind of checking how everyone is doing. you're so much more intentional in the relationship with your children and how you're communicating about the different experiences, what's going to happen. There is so much more time spent in building the relationship and understanding where everyone is at, and listening, intentionally listening how everyone is doing. And I think that makes a major difference for the children in general, to really feel like the parents are present and set so much intention in how they're raising the family. So that's been for me like one of the biggest one. The other one is just a lot more sharing of experiences. I think people are quite vulnerable in a good way when they're traveling. They want to change, they want to design the life the way they want. And in that sense, they're also a lot more ready to exchange and again talk about things that are sometimes not easy, not comfortable, about their doubts, about what they don't know. They're questioning things. And that's a very positive environment when people just accept that they don't know and they're just asking the questions. I think that's the kind of environment also we want our children to grow up, not in an environment that pretends knowing everything, but more an environment where you're asking the right questions. So those have been for me like the two main benefits, yeah, of traveling.
I also
Yeah.
really loved when you mentioned when you have the foundations in place, you don't question things as much. You trust that foundation, which is important for like a level sense of safety in your body and your relationship, but also you get complacent and you might not be asking the harder questions of how can I grow? How can my partner grow? How can my family grow? So I think all of those pieces are just like such a integral part of the puzzle of like a well-rounded experience as a parent. And
Mm,
I say all of that because we don't place as much importance on the benefit of travel for the parent as we do for the child. So I do hope anyone who's listening just puts themselves as just as much of an importance level of growth as they do for their child. And that's something that I think Boundless Life can do because of the community that you guys offer. I think so many parents, and fair enough, very valid, but many people fear leaving their communities or their extended families so they don't end up going on an adventure or a trip or 3 months in Portugal, whatever that might look like. It holds them back from, like you said, designing a new way of life. So
mm.
can you discuss a little bit about the power of co-parenting and this village that is created in these Boundless Life programs? I'd love, because this is such a powerful piece of like how you grow as a parent, is trusting this village that can be created.
Yeah, it was. I want to start by saying that it was not an obvious one for me. So I didn't grow up this way. We didn't grow up in a community like my parents. There was a very like small unit, and we were spending a lot of time together, traveling, but just like the four of us. And so I remember when we joined Boundless, like I really joined for the education program originally, and then I was like, okay, so we're going to be in this home and there's going to be two other families living in the same building. And I was like, oh my God, there's going to be all those children coming into my home. And what
I
is
have
it
to
going to
talk
be
to other
like?
people.
And it was not that dramatic, but there was definitely a sense of like, oh, that's going to be different. I'm wondering how it's going to be. And very quickly I warmed up to it. But yeah, there was this episode where Lilo was playing downstairs. So very often the kids are upstairs or downstairs. You can hear them. You know they're around, but they're not in your building. And suddenly I hear this scream, and so her finger got stuck in the door, like the
Oh,
typical thing. So run down. It was chaos. So brought her back into the home, and I myself, I'm not super comfortable with all those episodes. And in like 2 seconds, suddenly there was like my neighbor upstairs who was down with her like emergency kit and just took care of the finger. Like that was her job. And then suddenly there was Reka who came, and the same thing had just happened to her. And she's like the best to talk to children. So she was just like intensely looking at Lilu, calming her down. And then there was this other man who was taking care of my other two children. And I was just like, I was in awe. Like, I was like, this is all happening. I don't know how I could have managed it by myself. It was so calming and beautiful at the same time to see, like, really the community coming together, just being here in the moment, just to help us. And since then, I think there's just been so many episodes of like you don't have the support system when you're traveling, but everyone has this very strong sense that they can do something to help. So if someone is sick, you're pretty sure that you're gonna get like the soup coming in for like 7 days. Like people are gonna be cooking and helping with, there's been COVID episodes and then everyone is helping each other. And that's quite precious. And it's also been seeing the girls learning from very, very different people. I think there are some skills that you're just unable to bring to your children or expose them to just because you're yourself. And suddenly, because we're living like quite close to each other, they do spend a lot of quality time with people. And you can see like connections that happen with other parents that are just beautiful. Like they would happen with an aunt or an uncle or and that's really the beauty, I think, of co-parenting. It's also bringing skills that you wouldn't have expected and
Yeah.
seeing your children blossom.
I love that because me and my husband and my 2 girls, we went 5 weeks Southeast Asia, and it was mostly just us. His parents came over for 2 weeks of it maybe, but most of it was just on our own, and it's nice to be able to do your own thing, but also there was times where I was like, "Man, like, we are the end all be all for these kids. There's no one else around. There's no other kids, there's no other adults, and it's exhausting." So just to hear you say, like, you're in another country, you're exploring, your kids are getting schooling covered, you have a co-working space available for the remote working parents. There's people in your building where you have your own living space, but your kids almost have this like village of kids running around. If you got sick, if I got sick when I did get sick, when I got sick in Thailand, I was the only person that
Mhm.
could take care of myself. Whereas if you're in this program, you have all these other parents that are rushing in to help. And I think that could be a powerful point of healing for some parents is learning how to accept that help. And what, like you said, you never really grew up with that concept of a village, but to now be experiencing that as a parent could be life changing for some people.
No, that's true. And it's quite humbling as well. Because I
Yeah.
think sometimes as a parent, you do like set a lot, like the bar is really, really high on everything you've got to do and cover. But the reality of it is, yeah, you can be helped, you can be supported. And this is something that just happens very, very spontaneously. Like I've had several times I couldn't just pick up the girls because a meeting run over. Just message on WhatsApp is like, of course, no problem. We'll just take them for a play date and we'll catch up afterwards with a glass of wine. And you're just like, this is heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did skip over a little piece of the puzzle here where you loved Boundless Life so much that you joined the team, right?
Yeah, it was very, very lucky. It was very, very lucky. It was very serendipitous. I very quickly felt like I could help or had a lot of ideas. And I happened to be in one of the first cohorts. So Mauro and Reka were there, the other two co founders. And at the beginning, I was pitching my services as a consultant, like many people do. And then I was like, you know what? No, you just need someone to get things done. And I would love to do that. The same day, I had an offer to join an incubator for the company I was starting for my startup. And I was like, okay, what am I going to regret? And for sure, it was like Boundless. Boundless was just starting. It was, as a marketeer, it was a dream come true. I mean, coming from Japan, I believe in the concept of ikigai. I don't know if you're
Hmm.
familiar with
Yeah,
it.
but can you explain for those who don't know?
It's just like such a simple but beautiful concept. It's basic ikigai is your purpose in life, and it's the intersection of four elements. It's what will make a positive change in the world, what you're really good at, what also brings money to the table, and what you love doing. And so that was for me like the intersection. Like I was passionate about travel and education. I can do marketing and sales for Boundless, and I do believe that it makes a huge positive effect for families. And so I immediately jumped on, and yeah, it's been 2 years and a half. Then became a late co-founders. Really got the skin in the game, and it's quite exceptional also to find people you just love working with so much. Like I've worked with very talented people in FMCG, but I've never seen an organization where everyone is just so driven and aligned with the mission and deeply cares about those children who are coming in and really wants to create exceptional experiences for those families, those experiences you'll talk about like around the dinner table for Christmas or whatnot. And that's a very special environment. Very, very special.
I love that, and I'm glad that you're able to find that sense of ikigai within you, because I think that's something we're all striving for, right? And I love the explanation of the four pillars of how you can cross-sectionalize, because I do think there's such a strong differential point in what you are good at doing, but what you love to do. It sounds very similar, but it can be very different. And I love that you're able to find that within yourself. So if someone was like, okay, I really into Boundless Life, you got me. This is exactly what I want. I want the support. I want the community. I want an overseas experience. I want my children to be exposed to multi ages, multi cultures. What's the best way for someone to get started, I guess?
So the best way is just to go on the website and then to schedule a call with one of our family reps. They've all done or are doing Boundless Life. So we have 5 people in the team who are helping the families and guiding them. You can ask them all the questions you want. They're based a bit all around the world. Some of them are on location at the moment, and they can really help you figure out like what is the right location, if there is availability. And then we have quick admission stage where we make sure that we can especially curate for the needs of the children. We're still a micro school, so that's a very important stage for us. And then you're all set basically, and you can confirm where you want to go and when. So that's as simple as that in terms of process.
And I know you guys just launched Andalusia in Spain. Is there anything on
Yeah.
the horizon that we can expect to see? Or if you can't tell us
Oh,
exactly, can you give us a little hint about what we can expect?
we're heading to Latin America next,
Oh, wow.
in 2025. So two locations coming up in Latin America. It's been a big request from the families. Obviously, time zone
Yeah,
will help a lot. A lot
for
of our families
sure.
are in North America. It took us some time just because we really want to ensure the safety of the families. Our CEO, Mauro, is from Brazil, so he knows really, really well what to look for. And so, yeah, two locations coming up in 2025. That will be very exciting. Another continent, beautiful traditions, the Spanish language. So, I think our traveling programs as well, we have 9-month programs. They will be
Oh.
doing like Spanish speaking immersion and just like hopping around 3 Spanish speaking location, including Spain and the two Latin American
Oh my
locations.
God. See, I love that. I was talking to one of your family reps, Kayla. This is how we got
Yes.
connected. She used to live in my hometown that I'm living in now, and we got connected, had a chat. And for me, Spanish is so big because my girls go to a Spanish immersion school. They hear Spanish all day. Neither me or my husband are native speakers. So for me, if I was going to choose a program, I would love to be able to continue the Spanish immersion.
And living there makes the whole difference when you actually get to practice it and connect with the children and the shop owners and
Yes.
use it. Like it's all about giving purpose to the learning. And I think when you're traveling and living in the country, suddenly it all makes sense.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for connecting with us and sharing about your program and sharing about yourself. We close the episode with 3 questions that I'd love to ask if you're game for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 1, what country or place has made the biggest impact on you?
Oh, I wish I could say it's one of the boundless location, but I still think that Japan is the one that shaped me the most. And so that's why it needs to be a future boundless location
Oh
as
my
well.
God, that would be amazing. That would be awesome. All
Yeah,
right.
that's something that we're looking into. But yeah, Japan is just so special. It's a different planet, and I think it just made me realize that so many rules that we've created in our own societies just don't make sense and can be thought in very, very different ways. So it's extremely refreshing. Yeah.
So number 2, sorry, I had like 3 questions
Yeah.
just pop into my head as you said that, and I want to ask you, but maybe this will be a part 2 episode. So number 2, what is your go-to travel accessory? Like, what do you have to have when you travel?
Oh, so there is one thing that I've always traveled with for the past 2 years and a half, which I don't know, it's a bit strange, but I'm traveling with those IKEA tents, bed tents
Oh,
for the
oh,
girls.
uh-huh.
So this is the first thing that I set up when we arrive in a new home. I don't know if you're familiar, but they're very silly plastic like tents, and each daughter has their color. And very quickly, suddenly, it makes them feel like it's their bedroom because that's their bed, right? Like there is the pink tent and the green tent and the blue tent, and so that's I guess, my travel accessory.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
they're
I've
very
never heard of those
compact.
before. I love
Yeah,
that.
very cheap, very compact, and they suddenly make you feel like home.
Yeah, like it's their own little space. I love that.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
number 3, last one. What's the biggest life lesson you've learned while traveling?
Oh, biggest life lesson. I guess that planning is overrated. When you're traveling and you're able to be spontaneous, suddenly that's when the most beautiful moments usually occur. That's been like the best encounter, the unexpected. You just need to make the space for it. So I used to be a hyper planner in my previous life, and now I'm learning. It's not easy. I'm learning to let go and to sometimes, yeah, not plan. That was my biggest learning when I decided to go for a sabbatical pre Boundless. It was I listened to a podcast. And I don't remember the name, but the key thing was like, do not plan for more than 24 hours.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I can't do that.
You're
And
like,
I
I'm getting
tried.
itchy.
Exactly. Like, what am I going to do tomorrow? And so, yeah, I just went for a walk and then I decided to stop at the cafe. And I remember I had like the most amazing discussion about that book that I was reading with the waiter. That would never have happened in another life because I didn't set myself for that moment, or I was not open to receive that moment. So, yeah, I think that would be my biggest lesson through traveling.
Yeah.
Again, still working on it.
Yeah, the planning thing is tough. I mean, I'm literally a travel advisor and planner. Like I plan people's trips, but I always like to remind myself, and especially for my own trips too, I like a loose plan, but I love leaving
Yeah,
days where, because you're going to talk, like you're going to
exactly.
talk to your barista, you're going to talk to your waiter. They're going to say, oh, no, 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 don't do that. The thing that's on the main tourist strip there, go to this place. And if you've already had everything
Mhm.
booked and planned solid, you're not leaving a lot of space to breathe, to decide on the day how you feel. Do you even want to
That
go on
feels
that
right.
sailboat
Mhm.
trip? Like, how are your kids doing? Adding kids to the mix definitely helps you slow down a bit when you travel. But
So true.
I've really
So
enjoyed, as you were talking just then, I've had like 3 or 4 more questions pop into my head. So we're gonna have a part 2 episode later down the track.
yay.
Maybe when you guys launch your Latin America countries, you can come back on and we can talk about that, because
Sounds
it's
good.
all the logistics of the program I'm super interested in learning. Thank you so much. For those who want to connect with either you or Boundless Life as the brand, what's the best way for them to reach out?
The easiest will be to come on our website. So it's boundless.life, and that's where you'll be able to like schedule a call. You can also find us on Instagram, is the Boundless Life account. And there will be a lot of like good inspiration from other families on how that works. And here again, you can engage with us. But yeah, all the family reps are super happy to chat and share their experiences and help you to design that life that, yeah, that you'd like to create.
Amazing. Well, thank you so, so much. And I'm so excited for our listeners to learn more. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning into the show and making it all the way to the end of the episode. How are we feeling after that? Are you super stoked to set out on your own Boundless Life experience? I know I am. I'm definitely thinking about the Spain program and definitely the Greece program. I'd love to hear from you. Like, which of the locations are you the most interested in? I wanted to end this episode by saying a huge thank you to our listener, Diana, for leaving such a thoughtful review. So, Diana says, I am such a fan of Kelly's podcast. She's the real deal and is such an inspiration to so many of us. Kelly is so passionate about travel, experiences, and living life to the fullest, and you can really tell that in her show. I love the wide array of guests that she has come on and all the topics that she covers. Diana, that's so sweet. And I'm so glad that you can feel how passionate I am about sharing my love of travel and personal development and exploring the world. So again, if you've been listening for a while, I would love if you could leave a rating and review. I will be sharing some of our reviews in the upcoming episodes. So who knows, maybe your episode will be shared next. That is all for today. I hope you have a beautiful closing out of your year. I will see you next week for the next episode. And this is your reminder to keep on exploring. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you're feeling on fire and lit up to start planning the bucket list adventure you're craving, let's work together. I'm here to manage all of the hassle of planning, hand select your options specifically for you, and give you the inside scoop that no AI itinerary can give you. Click the link in the show notes to look through our pricing and packages. You're one click away from the adventure of a lifetime. This is your reminder to keep on exploring.